Hey everyone, this is Mario again, coming at you with another movie review. And it's another entry in Oscar reviews. Now today I'm reviewing a film that is considered by almost everyone who watches movies to be a classic, and that would include me. It is of course the 1975 thriller film directed by Steven Spielberg, based on the novel by Peter Benchley. It is of course Jaws. Just when you've done it. Oh yeah, that's the sequel, excuse me. I was about to say the sequel's tagline, excuse me. Of course, as you can tell, I got the 25th Anniversary Collector's Edition that was released back in 2000. I've had it for a couple of years. I know I should have gotten the 30th Anniversary. I should have waited. I could have gotten it for a couple bucks cheaper because it was at Big Lots once, but what do I know? Maybe one day I'll upgrade to the 30th one, but for now I'm happy with this one. Anyway, you guys remember around the time I switched this channel, I reviewed the novel of this. If you guys want to see my full thoughts and stuff on the novel, go to into the reviews playlist and look for it. It's in there somewhere. But I will mention some stuff about the novel, but only in comparing it a little bit. Now, of course, in order to talk about this, I will talk a little bit about the novel, because there is one thing about the novel I don't think I mentioned in the review, and that is how this novel was written. Now, originally, I think I might have mentioned this, the thing that originally started the novel was that it actually was inspired by something that actually happened. It was something known as the 1916 New Jersey shark attacks. Now, what they happened was apparently a shark. There were a couple shark attacks along the Jersey coast. A couple swimmers got killed, and then a couple people got attacked by a shark in Matawan Creek, which is a creek in New Jersey, obviously. Now, obviously, we don't know what type of shark it was. Most people suspect it might have been a bull shark, but more recently, people are starting to suspect maybe it was a great white. The ocean ones, obviously, could have been any shark, but they suspected great white there. But the creek one, in order for it to be a great white, it would have to have been during high tide, which it was at high tide, so more seawater could have been going in, so a great white technically could have survived for a couple days. That's just one theory I've heard, which I would believe that. And, of course, they eventually did catch a great white shark, a small one with human remains in it, and they thought that might have been the killer. Peter Benchley heard about this and a couple of other things, and he had toyed with the idea for a while. It wasn't until, I believe it was, I'll go to the page because I want to make sure it's actually the company I thought it was. Yeah, Doubleday, that's who I thought it was. Doubleday, they commissioned him to write it, and he wrote 100 pages for about $1,000 up front. And when he turned it in, they liked the first 5 pages, which the first 5 pages is written from basically a shark's point of view. Well, not from the point of view, but, with describing the creature, and those went into the novel unchanged. The other 95 pages were written in a humorous fashion, and they didn't like the tone, so they basically made him change it, and from what we got Jaws, which, as I said earlier in this review, want to hear my full thoughts on the novel? See book review. Well, at one point, the novel was found. I forget who it was that found the novel. I'm going to have to go check down in here. It was, it was Richard Zanuck and David Brown, producers at Universal, who heard about the novel. And from there, decided, after they read it, that it might have been it sounded like it'd be a good good novel turned into a movie. And the director that they chose, of course, was Steven Spielberg. And apparently this is after they watched that movie Duel, which I still want to watch that movie, because I've heard so many things about it. And, of course, Spielberg was reluctant at first because he didn't want to be typecast as a director with only one genre, which, as we know from that, he is not typecast from one genre. Because look at all those different genres he got under him. He got a couple horror-like movies, he got sci-fi, he got action, he got drama, so he's anything but typecast as a single thing. But of course, we all know eventually he went on and decided to direct. And of course, our cast. I want to find the list because I hate it when these pages don't have a list of the cast. Makes looking through the cast a lot harder. Anyway. For our cast, we got Roy Scheider playing Chief Martin Brody. We have Robert Shaw playing, of course, Quint. We got Richard Dreyfuss playing Matt Hooper. We got Lorraine Gary playing Hooper's wife, and then other actors, which those are the only ones I know off the top of my head. Which I'm gonna. This is the reason why I think it's easier to tell, because let me see if this is the guy I think it is real quick before I'm. Oh yeah, this is right. Murray Hamilton, the guy who plays the mayor. They all do good acting, but I'll discuss it in a little bit. Now I think I might as well talk about the plot of the movie. I mean, I'm already 5 minutes in and I haven't talked about the plot. Of course, the plot is that we're in New England, and it's during the summer. It's right before the 4th of July, and all of a sudden, the shark appears and starts attacking people. First it starts, of course, with that famous scene at the beginning of the movie everyone knows about, the swimmer at night, which is a good example of why you do not go swimming in the ocean at night or in the early morning. Especially if you live in an area that is known to have at least minor shark activity. Never. Anyway, the body is discovered. Martin Brody wants to call it a shark attack, but he's told by some of the higher-ups that it would be bad for business because they need that summer dollar, so they just decided to call it a boating accident. And after a kid is killed, they decide to put a bounty on the shark's head, and people start going out. That's about this time that someone from the Oceanographic Institute, of course Hooper, shows up, and he looks at the body and says it wasn't a boating accident. A shark is killed, but upon examining it, we find out it's the wrong shark, and from there they have to try and kill the normal shark before it can kill anyone else. Which, of course, doesn't work at first, but then eventually they hire Quint, and then the rest of the movie is them hunting for the shark. Now, that's kind of a vague plot, because I don't want to give away everything about the movie, but I think you get the point. Now, acting in the movie, Roy Scheider, he does a magnificent job as Martin Brody. You really feel for the guy, like, when he's talking with the mayor at the scene, you can really tell that he knows it was a shark, or at least suspects strongly enough that it was a shark, that the beaches should be closed temporarily. But you can see the crap he's dealing with, and Murray, he pulls off his performance as the mayor beautifully, and the back and forth between him and Roy in the movie is very well done. But since they dropped the whole plot point about Murray being connected with the mob and stuff from the book, it just makes the character of the mayor just seem like an ass. But it makes you hate him even more, I guess, if he's doing it just, to be an ass. And it really makes you wish that the Martin clocked him once in the head. I mean, in the sequel, that would have been cool. Then, of course, Richard Dreyfuss is Martin. Excuse me, I almost said Martin Hooper. Who's Martin Hooper? Is that the fusion of Hooper and Brody with the Patari earrings? Anyway, Matt Hooper, his performance as that character is pretty good, and the character is very likable, which is a strong departure from his character in the novel. In the novel, as I mentioned in my book review, he's sort of likable at first, but then after he has the affair with Brody's wife, and he's played off as more of a stereotypical rich person at times, who, though has the movie's version Love of Sharks, he's more of a snobbish person, that you would think he sounds like Ron White's interpretation of rich people. I have the windshield wipers to keep my headlights clean in a rainstorm. I can't believe you didn't buy a Mercedes Benz. Like that. Upper crust, old money. Where we get that he is from that era, from that background. He has that background in the movie. By the way, this is the reason why you should record reviews at 9:30 at night. We don't get the fact that he's snobbish. I mean, you could tell at one point when he's even heckled by Quint about it, you could tell that pisses him off, that he hates that stereotype, which I think is nice. And it's a good move to actually make Hooper a little bit likable, and also taking out the affair angle also makes us like the wife character a little bit more, and also it makes okay, can't even word this. It makes the boat part at the end a little bit more enjoyable because there's less tension between them. Which, of course, the tension might have been interesting if done right. Like, make it seem whether they're going to kill each other or the shark will. That would have been interesting, but it's not really needed. And, of course, Robert Shaw as Quint. If there's anybody in this movie who should have gotten at least an Oscar nod, because this movie did not get any acting nominations, it was him. He is great. In the book, Quint is kind of played off as he's a good character, but he's played off as kind of the stereotypical ocean guy. You know, in the vein of Ahab, only without a background reason. Whereas in the movie, we get a little bit more background on him, like that whole thing about him being on the Indianapolis. I thought was pretty good backstory for him. Still, like in the novel, we don't know the specifics of why he became a shark hunter, but it's kind of hinted that maybe his experience with sharks on the Indianapolis is maybe what got him to have a fascination with them, which has eventually led to his shark hunting. And because of that, he just loves hunting sharks, which brings to the challenge of him wanting to go after Jaws. Because, by the way, there is some of that thing of the thrill of the hunt in the novel, because Quint eventually stops charging to try to go after Jaws because it becomes sort of personal. But that's after what happens to Hooper, which I'm not going to spoil because that only happens in the books. I'm not going to say it. Where here we get a little bit of that, but it's not as open. It's only hinted because they stay on the boat the whole time at the end. But he still is a great performance, and he has one of my favorite little bits of dialogue in the movie. Yeah, you go in the cage. Cage goes in the water. Shark's in the water. Our shark. And of course, him singing that Spanish lady song all the time. I thought that's pretty good. And of course, like I mentioned before, the Indianapolis speech. That is a great speech. And he mentions the thing about the sharks. There's eyes, roll back, black eyes, and it holds eyes. And of course, Quint's introduction to the movie is so badass. Him scratching on the nails on the chalkboard during the meeting and doing the whole speech, and it ends. You get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing. Then, of course, when they're all going shark hunting, just how he's watching them on his boat, like, yeah, they'll catch sharks. You know, I can imagine him doing. Imagine Quint doing the ostrich laugh from Family Guy. And especially the effects in this movie are, I guess you could say, okay, because you could obviously tell when you see the shark that it's fake, but it does still look. The animatronic still pretty good, I guess you could say. It doesn't look, the shark isn't realistic, which is why I think not showing it a lot works. I mean, the times we show it, it's effective. And the fact that we don't really see the shark clearly until right when the second act is segueing into the third act makes the film a little bit stronger. Which, of course, this is one of the reasons the last two sequels failed, but that's later on when I eventually get to review those two. But it just shows that Spielberg is very effective when, of course, everyone knows about the fact that the shark was malfunctioning during the filming of the movie. It just shows that Spielberg made the best of what he could do. He's probably thinking, fuck, this shark isn't working. You know, we don't really need to show the shark. We could just film around it. And it turned out to be better. That's one of the things, if I remember correctly, the first sequel does, is that they go in that method, only showing the shark when they need to, which that does. If you're going to do a shark movie and you don't have good animatronics, you probably should do that. Of course, now we got CG. They probably would have used it back then, but now, oh yeah, the score by John Williams. That score is. This is a good example. This movie is a good example of when a score really helps a movie. I mean, if you were to take the score out of some of the scenes, it probably would make them less effective. And the funny thing is, the main theme, when John Williams first showed it to Spielberg, Spielberg thought he was joking. I guess if you're not even familiar with the score and you just hear it and like, yeah, that's not going to work. Then you watch it with the movie and you're like, yeah, damn, that works. And I have to say, I'm actually glad that the score was one of the Oscar nominations it won, because it won 3 of the nominations it was nominated for. It was nominated for 4, and it won 3 of them. It won Best Film Editing, deserved. Score, deserved. Best Sound, deserved. But the one it lost Best Picture, and it lost to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Of course, one thing Spielberg says is he resented the fact he wasn't nominated for Best Director, which I can see probably why he would be, because I have to say, looking at all the Spielberg movies I've seen, which I'm about to list off the ones I actually have seen. These are the ones I have seen. Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, all 4 Indiana Jones movies, E.T., Hook, both the Jurassic Park movies he did, Schindler's List, Amistad, Saving Private Ryan, AI, That's about it. I have to say, this is probably my favorite movie that he's did. My close second would probably have to be... my second favorite would probably have to be E.T., then the Indiana Jones films, then probably Jurassic Park, then Hook, then probably Lost World. No, I think I probably would put Amistad before Hook. So it's kind of hard to do it off the top of my head. I'd have to think about it, but I can honestly say Jaws is my favorite of the films he did. And it was actually one of the first ones I was introduced to of his, because I was introduced to this film as a kid. I didn't see the whole thing, but my dad was watching it, and it was in the third act. So I started watching it, and I'd heard about the movie. I hadn't seen it, and I loved the movie. And then when I actually got a chance to watch it from the beginning all the way to the end, I loved it even more. And so when I guess you could say that's why when I saw the movie cheap at Walmart, I'm like, I gotta get it, $5, I gotta get this movie. I got it. And just one of those films that you could just talk about it, and even if you haven't seen the movie, people know what you're talking about, because it's just one of those films that people know about. You mean, even specific scenes from the movie you talk about and people know. It's just one of those, that stuff, like, even if you haven't seen Psycho, you know about the famous shower scene. Even, let me think of one. Even if you haven't seen the original Nightmare on Elm Street, you are probably going to be semi-aware of the famous bathtub part, or even stairs part. It's just Jaws is one of those movies, and I have to say, it's one of those films that won Academy Awards that wholeheartedly deserved it. And watching this movie, I really do wish that more movies were made like this. Not shark movies, that'd be cool, but I mean, filmed, with great acting, not acting that you go, oh my god, why'd they cast this no talent hack? Movies with great direction, movies with great cinematography, movies with a great musical score, not just a half-assed one that's like dun 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 dun, one that actually fits. It's just, I think you guys can get what I mean. It's just, seems the films are starting to become a dying art, or at least one where we're like, yeah, we don't care, they're just half-assed and we'll make the money. We'll make money! It's just starting to become more about money than about actually producing something great. Anyway, ranting aside, I don't think I can say anything else about Jaws that hasn't already been said. Like I said, it's a classic. Great acting by our main characters. Okay special effects. Fantastic score by John Williams. Magnificent direction by Steven Spielberg. And cinematography. I think just all around a flawless film in my opinion. And I give Jaws, obviously, a 5 out of 5. It deserves more than that, but that's the highest I can go.